All right, peace, family. What's going on in this mid-afternoon? Breaking news, breaking news. Let's get right into it. All right, y'all. Look like the government. Hope y'all can hear me okay. Look like the government is giving the Bishop Bling, something to cry about this time. So, and this is from the New York Times. Bishop Bling, he's done. He's got 9 years, 9 years for fleecing the flock. This is from the New York Times, y'all. Lamor Whitehead, the flamboyant Brooklyn preacher who was convicted of defrauding a parishioner's mother and attempting to commit extortion, was sentenced to 9 years in prison by a federal judge in Manhattan this past Monday. So, Whitehead, known as the Bling Bishop, was already in custody after Judge Lorna G. Schofield revoked his bail last month. And that's Mr. Whitehead right there with his white lawyer in tow, whatever, admonishing him for making false statements about law enforcement officials and his victims on social media. So prosecutors, them said that after his conviction in March, him try sell legal documents from his case online. And the judge says, I don't see any remorse for your conduct. And there really wasn't, because dude was talking shit as soon as the charges went down. So the judge said this after he delivered a rambling monologue asking for her mercy. And she added that he did not appear to appreciate the impact of his crimes or the basic facts of the case. So two of Mr. Whitehead's victims, former alkalite Rashid Anderson and his mother, who he robbed of her life savings, Pauline Anderson, addressed the judge before he rendered a sentence. Miss Anderson, a nurse, broke down as she described how she had spent a lifetime working only to lose $90,000 from her retirement savings when she gave it to this bum, Mr. Whitehead, to help her achieve her dream of buying a house. I lost everything I had worked for, she said, adding that later the betrayal broke my heart, my spirit, my soul. So she is really deep in the rabbit hole with this clown. In a memo to the judge before the sentencing, prosecutors argued that Mr. Whitehead was a career con man and criminal. I mean, duh. Mugshots everywhere online, but who had committed fraud for more than 2 decades. And they said he had abused his position as a religious leader to rake in millions, much of which he spent on fancy, or I should say tacky clothes and luxury cars. But Mr. Whitehead's conviction in March related to conduct beginning in 2018, where he was found guilty of 5 counts related to defrauding financial institutions and the Andersons, trying to extort the owner of a Bronx auto body shop and lying to federal agents. So Mr. Whitehead, 46. So Mr. Whitehead, 46, who was robbed of jewelry at gunpoint during a live stream church in 2022. And he had boasted of ties to Mayor Eric Adams, which must have drove Mayor Adams nuts, who previously served as Brooklyn Borough President. Mr. Whitehead had sought to cultivate Mr. Adams as a mentor, but text messages that shown during the trial revealed that Mr. Adams had sought to distance himself. No shit. Reprimanding Mr. Whitehead for creating conflict or sometimes not responding at all. The mayor, who was not accused of any wrongdoing, and he's got his plate full. He got a lot of other things to worry about. Among the panoply of charges, the case of Pauline Anderson stood out. Mrs. Anderson had met Mr. Whitehead in 2020 through her son when he was a volunteer at Mr. Whitehead's Brooklyn church. Rashid Anderson went on to work for the church, and Mr. Whitehead helped him to buy the home and officiated at Mr. Anderson's wedding. Eventually, Pauline gave tens of thousands of dollars from her retirement income or account to Mr. Whitehead, believing he would help her to buy a house too. Instead, prosecutors said, Mr. Whitehead used that money for shopping sprees at Polo and Louis Vuitton and payments on a BMW. And when she asked for the money back, he lied and he then threatened her. Word, I didn't know that. So Mr. Anderson, 30 years old, said that his mother was a hardworking single parent from Jamaica. Let me stop there. A hardworking single parent from Jamaica, and this dude right here who is Black American, ADOS, FBA, or whatever, scammed this woman. I thought you guys say it's the other way around. Either way, he's just a fucked up dude, but I'm just throwing that out there. Helped support many of her relatives. Anyway, putting herself last, which is usually what people who come from those countries do. This is what they do. Anyways, now family members are digging into their savings to defend themselves in a lawsuit filed by Mr. Whitehead. How about that? And notice he's on all these lawsuits. Notice when he was robbed and he started throwing lawsuits at people, only threw lawsuits to black folk. Only to black folks. Anyway, I was used and taken advantage of. And because of that, I have to see my mother suffer because of Mr. Whitehead's deceit, his son told the judge. In another episode that led to extortion charges, a Bronx businessman, Brandon Belmonte, wore a wire at the behest. So he's on a wire, damn. A wire at the behest of the FBI to record Mr. Whitehead's threats. In those recordings, the Bling Bishop said that he had the key to the city and that he could procure favors from Mr. Adams, including getting permits to operate affordable housing or lifting stop work orders at construction sites. Those claims were false, the prosecutor said. So Bishop Whitehead is in my prayers, the mayor said when asked about the sentencing Monday. Like, what could he say? So Mr. Whitehead's lawyers had argued that he should be freed immediately and allowed to remain on supervised release. That's not going to happen. His lawyer, Dawn Florio, yeah, the white chick you see in the picture, he loves bashing black people, but he gets a white lawyer, no surprise. Said who had done many charitable works, even sought to go into public service himself as Brooklyn Borough president. As you remember, over the past 2 years, he was knocking on doors and he was running that scam. Numerous parishioners from his church, leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries, wrote letters to the court praising him. Mrs. Florio also argued that Mr. Whitehead probably has post-traumatic stress disorder from the live-streamed robbery 2 years ago. 2 men pleaded guilty to that crime and are scheduled to be sentenced in August. A third man, as you probably know, died in a shootout with U.S. Marshals who had gone to arrest him in Jersey in January. But prosecutors from the office of Damon Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, also pointed to Mr. Whitehead's past as they argued for a tougher punishment. In 2008, he was convicted of several charges of identity theft for a scheme involving loans for cars and motorcycles secured in other people's names. He served 5 years in prison for that case. This defendant has repeatedly committed serious crimes and repeatedly cast the blame on everyone else but himself, the prosecutors wrote in their pre-sentence hearing. Mr. Whitehead's comments to the judge focused on his work in poor neighborhoods in Brooklyn that he probably tried to rob. He mentioned the names of police officials and elected officials he had worked with on gun buybacks, which is a bad idea, by the way, youth programs, and untold turkey giveaways for Thanksgiving. I'm a pillar in the community, he said. Outside the courtroom afterwards, Rashid Anderson said the family had thought Mr. Whitehead would get an even longer sentence, but that he hoped that it would lead to his mother's finally recouping her hard earned money. It has been a traumatic event for all of us, he said. This is our first step towards closure. That's from the New York Times. Jeffrey C. Mays reported it. Look, um, I think it's too short myself, and he was so obvious a fraud that I'm just, I'm kind of surprised that it took this long. But I just think that there's going to be another fool that pops out the list. But yeah, 9 years, 9 years for Bishop Blang Blang, right? 9 years. And yeah, I just wanted to drop the news. Shout out to everybody who's coming to the chat. Black Anonymous, what's going on? I'm probably gonna do another video tonight on I answer a past video that I just did regarding your boy Ricky, who had his parade the other day over the weekend. And I caught a little bit of Big Daddy Kane and hope people had fun. But what's up, Black Anonymous? Last call. What's up, everybody? Yeah. So the Bling Bishop, 9 years in the Bing. So Bishop Bling Bling will be 9 years in the Bing. And like I said, man, we'll see what happens. We'll see there's anything else, any other drama that pops out. I'm interested to see his wife, how she reacts to this, and see if that church is open. I think she's probably going to turn out when this is all over. But listen, y'all, that's all I wanted to say. I'll be back later on. Shout out, but like, share, subscribe, and yeah, I will see you. And peace.